So basically, the as CB and Jaleel Holdings has firstly we are grateful to both of them because at some stage, if you reach a stage in your own career and life where you want to share experiences and you want to give back to the very people who have helped you to reach where you have, both as a professional and also as organization. So firstly, a big thank you to both of them. And probably I'll take you through the emerging trends and the opportunities that are there in the UAE and basically Middle East food industry. And why UAE? I'll share this as we move along. So just to some quick data points. UAE, as everybody knows, it's 11 million population, 545 billion GDP, growing at 4%, real good growth, very high per capita of $49,000. If you compare that to India, which is $6,000, so you can imagine the kind of per capita consumption that's there. Similarly, the GCC is not far behind with a 2.14 trillion GDP, population of 77. And of course, if you look at the larger MENA region, it's a population of 532 with a 4.4 trillion. So it's probably bigger than India when it comes to GDP. Growing at 3%. Yes, India may be growing at 6%, but this is growing at 3%. More importantly, the per capita is $9,000. India is $6,000, as I mentioned to you. And the good part is, it's probably the only part of the world where you have around close to a population of 532 million, of which around 350 to 400 million population speaks one language, that is Arabic. And you will have media which addresses entire 400 million people just by one or two channels. So very, very unique if one wants to reach out to the consumers here. A quick one, why UAE? Because today, for example, the question will be asked, if Saudi Arabia is bigger or Morocco is bigger, Algeria is bigger, why are you talking of UAE first? But UAE is a stepping stone. The reason is that you're at the crossroads of the global commerce market. So that means you can straddle three continents, 400 cities, 88 ports from the UAE. It leads in 215 data points, indices globally, very unique distinction. And 66% of the world can be reached within 8 hours from the UAE. So this again, has very significant benefits of being based out of the UAE, and that's not without reason. In the last 20 years, the population has grown from somewhere around 5 million to 11.1 million and growing. So basically, where we say UAE is a place where prosperity meets opportunity. So it gives a good quality of life. At the same time, it basically also provides a lot of opportunity. What people used to say for Mumbai at one point of time, city of dreams. Here it is a country of dreams and opportunity. Uh, some of the indices which are here, I won't go through each one of them. As I said, the presentation will be there. Most importantly, what's for investors, I think what's important is the ease of doing business. So I think the ease of doing business is an index where UAE is very, very high up. In fact, it's probably number 4 or number 5 in the world in terms of, and more importantly, because of the comprehensive economic partnership agreement with India, I think the movement of goods between India and UAE is something which is very easy, and it's at zero tariffs. Most of the products are at zero tariffs. So I think that makes it important if you're looking at just plain trading. But if you're looking at investments where you want to put up foot on the ground, then I think the approach will be very different. And I will cover this in my subsequent slides. And the fact that it has a double taxation agreement, avoidance agreements with 146 countries, of which 116 are ratified, it gives a good opportunity to be able to what you would call as export or re-export your goods from here, if in case you put up a manufacturing unit, and incomes that are earned don't get don't get taxed going forward. Needless to say, railway network was one area that this country was not known for. But today, once Etihad Rail gets by 2026, once it's commissioned, right from the mouth of Europe, which is basically Salalah, which is the largest container terminal in the world, will basically have a railway network which will connect it from Salalah right up till Riyadh. and will basically be able to move goods by train, which will bring down the cost of transportation in the Middle East by manifold. We all know about the flights. Two of the biggest airlines in the world operate out of here, which is Etihad and Emirates. The 2,500 total weekly flights, 10 airports within the country itself, connecting to 281 destinations and 12 ports. So really a very, very good infrastructure to put your investment in. It's a nation on the move, zero income tax. So I think each one of us, it really pains us when we have to pay the government 35%, but here it's zero income tax. One of the lowest corporate tax, which is 9%, primarily because they had to, comply with the global world order. That's one of the reasons why they did that. And you have a wide diaspora of people, 119 nationalities, which are there in the country. It's again, Abu Dhabi and Dubai are on most of the indexes are rated number one and number two cities to live in the Middle East and Northern Emirates, Middle East and North America, North Africa region. It's also number 19 in healthcare innovation. In fact, if there's one industry which has really taken off in the last 10, 12 years, it is healthcare. So today we can, safely, one of the reasons why earlier expats and good quality expats were not moving to, or investors were not moving to the UAE, was primarily the concern on healthcare, and second was education for the children. Today, both of these are getting addressed by the country, and we have one of the best healthcare institutions that you can find in the world here, and big specialty doctors from all over the world come here even as consultants. Quick one. This again, a lot of data, but just to give you an idea in terms of population by gender, what you will see that it's a young population. More than 60% of the population are in the age bracket of 35 and above, or 40 and above. By Emirates, Abu Dhabi by far is the biggest, but it's very close to Dubai. So Dubai has grown big time. And if you look at on the right hand side of the slide, 37 or 38% of the population is still Indians. So tomorrow, if they had elections, I think definitely a Kuti or a Nair would be the prime minister of this country. Unfortunately, they don't have that. So, and you have around 16.7% Pakistani. So South Asian as one block is a big number. So you're talking about close to 54% of the population being coming from the subcontinent. And of course, in the others, you also have Bangladesh, which habits are very similar to the Indian subcontinent. Very, very other important data, the time spent on online. So people, firstly, there's a 99% what you would call as penetration of internet, which is, you have 11.5 million people. That means 112%. That means there are people with two accounts or whatever it may be. 10.14 million internet users. That means you can get your message through social media or through the net completely. So that means it covers 100% of the people, but definitely 99% is the penetration. The average time that they spend on internet devices across may be one of the highest in the world. At an average, people are spending 8 hours and 11 minutes a day in terms of on internet across devices, and nearly 3 hours on social media. So this again is one of the highest in the world. And as I've put there, 10 most used social media platforms, WhatsApp definitely is 85% penetration, followed by Facebook, followed by Instagram. So again, very important data points, especially when you want to get your message across, and also the reasons for using social media. So for example, if you have a business and your business addresses each of these 10 areas that we've spoken about, the main reasons why they use social media. So you get a good idea as to what's the penetration and how many people are using social media for this particular reason. So, these are data points are important. And that's one of the reasons why I said that, we have really put this together, but it will be very important for each one of you when you want to slice and dice and look at creating your business plan. You'll find it important. In tourist arrivals, we know that Dubai has got one of the highest arrivals in the world, but a bulk of those arrivals are also for who are transiting. They're transit passengers. Like for example, today, Emirates is the biggest airlines out of India, but a good part of the people who are using Emirates also transit through the country. So while 74 million, arrivals would have been there in the UAE, of which 22.7 million is who stayed behind and have really, been part of the tourist people who spend time in the country and have spent dollars or dirhams in hotels or other kind. And globally, Dubai is number 4 destination in the world in terms of arrivals. Uh, some of the data on the right hand side is a little dated, but the one on the graph, which shows 22.7, is the real data in terms of as per the Dubai government or UAE government data point. But very important to know is basically the number of average daily rate of rooms, which is 536 dirhams. That means in terms of rupees, it's around, people are spending close to 13,000 rupees per day in terms of room rate. And there are 150,000 rooms in Dubai alone, which is 10 times more than Bombay City. So that's the kind of room rates that you get out here. It's growing well at 19.5%. And as you can see on the right hand side, the tourist arrivals, which country has the largest number? By far, India is the largest. It's close to nearly around 14 million of the 22 million. This is again another important data points. Those who want to look at hospitality at some stage. Uh, Five-star hotels contribute to 35% of the inventory, with a 74% average occupancy, which is these numbers are probably some of the highest in the world. Very rarely would you find five-star hotels rooms being higher than the other hotels, but in the UAE, that's the case. So 35% is five-star, 29% is four-star, and the works. But more importantly, the average occupancy, as you can see, is high. The guest length of stay, they stay at an average of nearly 4 days. The room nights that they occupy is growing by around close to 3%. That means 31 million room nights were used, and the daily rate is 487 there on the other side. And primarily, if you look at the consumer spending, and this is a very important point, and especially when we are focusing on food and beverages, close to, for every 100 dirhams or 1 dirham that somebody earns, nearly 14% is spent on food and beverages. Now, this is slightly skewed because you have close to 40% or 30% of the population which is in blue collar. So when you're in blue collar, so obviously your housing as a percentage goes high, and that's why that distorts the average. But if you look at, say, probably we remove the group blue collar, then probably the spend on food and beverages and the spend on housing reduces, but the spend on food and beverages would definitely increase. So it would not be 13.9, but 13.9 itself is a huge number in terms of spending on food and beverages. If you look at very, very developed countries like Europe and America, maybe the spending on food and beverages would be in the single digits. So these are numbers which are important, especially as I said, when you're building a business plan. And that's why I thought it is important that I put these numbers down for you to be able to, kind of absorb it and use it wherever you think that is important. Quick one, in terms of retail importance, retail and traditional trade have traditionally been the huge place for distribution. And one of our associate, Jaleel Holding, has been distributing, one of the big distributors here, and they were basically addressing top end retailers and mass fragmented retailers through their wholesale and cash and carry and also their distribution business. But something which has really taken off in the last 2 years, corresponding with what the growth in India is, quick commerce and e-commerce. And I'll come to that at a later stage. We are already seeing that in India with Blinkit, Zepto, and the works, and Swiggy. Similarly, you have Noon, Talabat, and Kareem, three big guys dominating the quick commerce space here and growing exponentially. And I'll show you the growth numbers as you move forward. Half of the population is young, so I think that's very, very important. Diversity in spending power. They are very diverse, different habits. They move from premium brands. That means you can really charge a premium. For example, today as Barakat juices, we are 3x the price of an average juice, and yet we are growing at the rate of 28%. So if you give value, if there is value that is seen to the customer is willing to pay. The economy has large variation, and as I said, it is growing fast. The important part is it's a homogeneous culture, similar language, and high family values. So people today here who are in the UAE feel that they firstly the region is safe, one of the safest in the world. Secondly, the family values. So today, for example, I've been in this country for the last 20 years, and if I would see that the way my children have grown versus how children are growing up either in Europe and now even in India, I don't know, one would say that you feel much more safer in terms of whether it's about drugs, alcohol, or promiscuity, or whatever you may want to put as concerns that parents would have on the children. And that's one reason why we are seeing people graduate to uh, and the family, because see that family values and the way they want their children to grow is something which is of high, what you would call as requirements from their side, uh, as family life. And that will be important to you as startups or entrepreneurs in terms of tapping onto that felt need. Can I have a business which addresses this need in terms of it? Whether I'm putting up, which is in say non-food, I look at things which probably addresses where I have view on my children, or be able to track my transaction of my children, or say probably because of family values, my communication that I have on my product, I can basically direct it that way. This again gives a quick demographics. You would see that in the UAE, only 12% is the local population, that is the Emiratis. The balance is basically expats, and I already mentioned this to you, and that's probably the trend everywhere else. It's a very strong local population, but a very good what you would call as respect for the Indian diaspora. And I think as a business, when you look at the business or doing business in the Middle East, you would like to straddle every ethnic segment as you move around, even if the product or the services that you're giving are very subcontinent in nature. Come in my subsequent slides, how you can tweak it to address the local population. The funding is 3.8 trillion dollars, growing at 3.4%. FMCG is growing by 4%, and I think that's the total interest that you have as businessmen to look at FMCG, whether it's food or non-food. And of course, technology and digital is growing at 2.6%. Our assessment is that it's growing more than this, but somewhere down the line, that's the official numbers that we have received. Okay. As we said, this is how the channels are growing. As you can observe down, just like the way it's happening in India, e-commerce in Saudi is growing by 30%, and in UAE is growing by 41%. Big numbers. And the good part about e-commerce is the cost of doing business is low. So tomorrow, when you're a new entrant into the market, if you have something which meets the needs, it's very innovative, and you can with speed make changes, then you're very relevant to the e-commerce players. Let's say, for example, a brand like Oatly, which is out of India, is now become the largest, what you would say, plant-based milk brand in the UAE, primarily on e-commerce. So they saw that it's something that we can meet the needs of our customers. They brought it on e-commerce. It works, doesn't work. They quickly look at data, they move, and business grows because the e-commerce very agile as compared to say modern trade or traditional trade, which are less risk averse. There is a sensitivity towards promotion. So anything, if you're launching any product, whether it's food, non-food, promotion value is something that consumers are looking at. And I'll take you through some of the discounters or the unit or the entities which have tapped onto this segment very well and have grown their business. The good part is, unlike Africa, or unlike India, or unlike many other places, the uh, propensity of the consumers to try something new. So accepting the dark green. So if you look at Saudi, the dark green, and this is dated data, but it's still relevant today. Only 12% are not averse to trying something new. So the balance 88% don't mind trying something new. In the UAE, it is 93%. So for anybody who's getting into a new business, this is a huge opportunity. This is a good important data point to look at, that this society or this set of consumers are willing to try something new. Okay, so they're willing to adopt. So if I'm an investor, I would be very encouraged when I look at this data. But some shifts, let me tell you that some few shifts that have been taking place in the last few years, which you need to be mindful of. So they're looking for added value. So anything that you're giving, they want to see the end benefit. It should benefit me in some way. Let's say, for example, when you looked at plant-based milk, it is today I'm going vegan milk, or I've got a lactose intolerance. I think Oatly has come up with a oat milk, which is relevant, is economical, and it meets my need of being vegan. Okay. As I've spoken to you about quick deliveries, so the deliveries now in 8 minutes and 12 minutes, you're receiving your deliveries. So I think that's a big one, that is a big consumer shift that is happening. 41% growth that we spoke about is happening primarily because people are looking at convenience, people have become lazy, and it's become a habit changing. Exactly like how Blinkit and Zepto is doing it in India. Similar kind of situation we are finding in the UAE and Saudi Arabia. People are looking at inventive products. People are looking at something which is Instagrammable. So any of your product that you have to make any product or services has to be Instagrammable. It's something that the people are, since they're spending 3 hours a day on social media, they will come across a whole list of products and offerings. So obviously, whatever you offer has to be exclusive. It has to be Instagrammable. Snappable means I can take a picture of it. I can relate to it. So I think in your checklist that you make in terms of the business or product that you have, I think this becomes a very, very important checklist. Let's say, for example, something that Noon did lately. They caught 20 brands and they asked those brands to associate themselves with them. And while the sales may not have been much, but Noon and the brand both got a lift because of this. We had the privilege of making the product because we are an ice cream manufacturer here. But it's a good idea. It's in terms of saying that, can I get influence? So since this was new, a lot of the influencers came, they wanted to be associated with this project. And suddenly Noon got a lot of talking points. The brand also got talking points. So it was a win-win for everybody. So these are trends that are happening here. Secondly, people are looking at tradition. People are going back to tradition. It's like, I was very fond of pleats. Then I was very fond of non-pleats. Then I was fond of narrow length. Now I'm going back to bell bottoms. So heritage becomes important. So anything which is, whether it's Indian heritage, whether it's Pakistani heritage, whether it is Emirati heritage, people want to celebrate heritage and traditional ingredients. Say that, for example, if you're looking at a food product, gooseberry-led product, coconut-led product, anything which has a very natural traditional benefit, I think that's something that you can really amplify when making a pitch to the consumers. This is something that we have done as Barakat. If you look at it, it's very, very local. We've made it look, the ingredients are local, the design on the box is very local. So these are something that you need to, and because of the fact that the expats are so grateful to the country that they are staying in, they also want to relate to something which is very local and national. So, you're not only addressing the 11% national, but you're addressing others who are expats here who are very happy to be in this country and say that, I have to give back something to the country. So this is the way in which companies are doing it. People are looking at simplicity. I should be very simple. I should not use my brains too much. Okay, because there's so much options. How I can penetrate through a consumer's mind by being very simple. Okay, very minimalistic. So that's what consumers are looking at. They're balancing value and convenience. So that's where discounters have come. Okay, the discounters have come, and that's why they have this role to play in the country, because people are looking at convenience, people are looking at value. So, but they're looking at balancing it. You cannot give them anything and get away with it. They may buy it once, but they will drop out. Just to give you some data point, at an average, 75% of the consumers drop out after the first purchase if they are not happy. So they don't stick. So you have to get it right first time. So somebody like Viva has taken the market by storm. They're discounters. They'll give you unique products where you don't get anywhere else. And today they are giving even established players like Carrefour a run for their money. I mentioned to you, these are the like the Deliveroo's, Noon, and Talabats are the Swiggies and Instamart and the Zepto and of the of and the Zomatos of the UAE. As I mentioned to you, Gen Z and expats both have love for the nation. This country has given them a lot, so there's a lot of affection for the country. So I think that's something that you need to keep in mind. That even if the product is very local in nature from a point of view of the Indian subcontinent or India, or even it may be Kerala, but somewhere down the line it has to resonate with the make it relevant to the UAE. So there's some tweak will have to be there in terms of where you bring in that nationalistic feeling in the consumers. This is some of the ways in which they manifest it and exhibit it. So these are stickers. So even 35-year-old, 40-year-old, you'll find them putting it on their phones, on their bags, on their cars. Very rarely. This is so unique. You'll see this in Emiratis, you will see this in expat Arabs, you'll see some of the Indians doing it because they want to be seen as being part of the country. We don't see this in very many countries. This is very unique to UAE. Now coming back, I just want to summarize in terms of the presentation that I've made, in terms of how is it relevant to you and how you would like to look at the market entry and a scale up, some of the scale up strategy. So the local market, as I said, is inherently different from India, and the new business should understand the local trends and culture. Major global players inevitably enter the local market by partnering with strong local players. So if you're entering into the market, we would tell you that please look at the possibility of getting strong local players. Say for example, if I'm entering into a business, my first port of call could be probably tying up with Jaleel and saying that I have this wonderful concept. This product is doing well in India, doing well in Kerala, is doing well in the south of the country, and I think it has potential in the UAE and Saudi, and this is the way in which I would like to market it. So obviously Jaleel would be one of the people that you would go to primarily because they know the market. You know them because they have a good reputation in back home. So this is what we would encourage people to look at. The local distribution infrastructure is good. Horeca is a big channel. So if in case you don't want to do retail, you want to do Horeca, it's a big channel, close to 50% of the business. And today e-commerce has become a good e-commerce and quick commerce is showing a good trend. So if your product is very e-commerce led, it's good for you because you can get access to e-commerce quickly. They'll put it onto their website, and it is cheap to advertise there. The local laws are good for new factories, but it's always recommended that to work with if you can buy an existing unit and then scale it up, is always advisable, because irrespective of the fact that the local laws for construction are good, it's still time consuming. So what may take probably 3 years in India will take probably 18 months in the UAE, but nonetheless it takes 18 months and you will have challenges. So strong consultants and partners are something that we recommend. The VAT rate is very low. Okay, it's at 5%, which is very good. Only VAT rate is high in Saudi Arabia, but I'll cover that. Corporate tax rate is one of the lowest in the world, 9%. Only thing is just be mindful that anything which is sweet, where sugar is added, the tax is 50%. So it is not recommended to have any product which includes sugar, because it really kills the pricing. In the larger Middle East, once you have a foothold in UAE, Saudi becomes easy because you start to understand it better. Only thing is that the cost of doing business in Saudi, or the cost is high because the VAT rate is 15%. I'm sure that 15% is, from an Indian standard, is not very high, but from a GCC standard, which is not used to it, 15% is considered to be high. Whereas in markets like Oman, Qatar, and all, still there is no VAT. But if VAT comes, you can expect that it will be anything from 5% to 9%. In terms of technology, very quickly, I will not cover. Since we are talking to startups, I'll just very briefly mention in terms of what all you can do. But what's important for the business, 4 things that we said: the visibility of operations. So even when you start from day one, I need to have visibility on my operation. I need to know the cost. I need to have inventory control. I need to know what's coming in, what's going out, what's in my stores. I need to know my margins from day one. and I need to have traceability, because tomorrow if the authorities come and tell me where did you get this product from, when did you make it, I need to have traceability, because this country is very strict on that part. So a base ERP, very very basic ERP. One is not saying that you need to go for SAP or Oracle or Microsoft Dynamics. Any base ERP is a must, because that gives you end-to-end visibility. So just look at it from that point of view. Some of the technology, if suppose you're a company which has aspirations to be a bigger entity, you're not where you're putting $1 million or $2 million or $5 million. You say, no, I want to get in with $20 million and I want to build a very new age company. So some of the technologies that you can adopt is artificial intelligence, where you can use it for your sales order entry. You can use it for demand forecasting, which we are doing today as a company. Use Internet of Things if you're putting up a big factory, you're putting up a spice plant, or you're putting up a flour mill, or you're putting up a pulses unit where you're using highly automated operations, you will use Internet of Things. And then, of course, for recipe management and traceability, you need blockchain. If you're in the foods business, you need to do that. And of course, other things, other technology that you will adopt is family, okay, are basically production planning, data driven, and sustainability. So data science is what is there, but this is second stage, once you're organized. And just to wrap up, as I said, joint ventures are very common in the UAE, with international companies coming with partners and local players. We're not saying that you must get into joint ventures, but joint ventures makes it easy for you. You have to find the right partner. That's very, very important. So partners that you can trust. Okay. Legal system is reasonable. There are English laws in DIFC, so that's one good thing. It's the only country in the GCC where English laws are accepted, and you can file the legal system in English. It doesn't necessarily need to be in Arabic, but that has to be DIFC led. It's a growing population overall. Today, for example, if you look at the house rents, you look at the rentals, really gone up in the last 4 years post the pandemic, because a lot of people have moved here. They see it as a safe country, they see it as a transparent country, and they see it as a gateway to the rest of the world. And it's used as a trading hub. So from the UAE, you can look at Africa and Asia very closely. Politically, the country is very close to all the powers. They're very neutral. So whether it is India, whether it's China, whether it's America, Russia, so they do business with everybody. And the government is generally supportive. I think one of the few governments where you reach out to them, they will come back to you and they will give you land, there's a hearing, they will meet you, and they will push for the agenda for the business. Very, very supportive. So I think these are some of the things that, as a new entrant or as a startup who wants to look at entering into this market, somebody said that they're into peanut candy, they're into peanut butter. Peanut butter is definitely one of the big opportunity areas that are there in this country. Artisanal bakery is one of the big opportunity areas in this country, because very very bespoke artisanal ice cream, and that's one of the reasons why we got into ice cream. We believe so we are like the naturals of this part of the world. So I'm saying these are some of the things that we probably would suggest to people who want to come in here, especially in the food sector. So I think this is what I have. So thank you for being patient and listening to me, and wish you all the best for whatever you want to do in this part of the world. And more than happy to be available to you if you need any time in the future. Thank you.